to the bomb hole.
Bomb Hole Podcast.
It's going to be very hot. It's going to be very uncomfortable for everybody.
The bomb hole.
We're gonna slide down them big hills, you know what I mean, on the big, nice burgundy snowboard.
All right, here we go again. We're back in the booth at the Bomb Hole presented by Pub Beer. Now, the people want to know, Stony Buds, how are we doing?
So good, my dog.
Love it. Love it. To my left, we have Leanne Pelosi in the booth today. Leanne, how we doing?
Good, thank you. Thanks for having me.
We are happy that you're here with us today, Leanne. So for the listeners that don't know who you are, I'll give you a brief intro. So Leanne has been pro for just about 2 decades. She's an icon in snowboarding, from pushing progression from parks, streets, to big mountain, to directing, producing, and starring in films that have inspired a generation. She has mentored many of today's top pros and dedicated her life to snowboarding. This is going to be a great episode, and also our first soon-to-be mom in the booth. How are we feeling about that, Leanne?
It's an honor. I'm speaking for 2 right now.
Yeah, right? Yeah, we could potentially have our first childbirth in the studio. Is that? I don't know.
I mean, yeah, anything can happen at this
Anything
point.
can happen.
I'm 6.5 months, so
Oh, wow.
yeah,
A little early, but
yeah, it'd be a little early.
yeah.
But
Awesome. Well, I got to
You'd
say,
be in good hands either way.
the way I found out was during natural selection, and which
Yeah.
was awesome, by the way. And the caption to your Instagram post was unbelievable as well.
yeah, that was funny.
Well, let's run it back, because a lot of people think you're Canadian, but you're actually not born in Canada.
This is true. I was born in the UK, in Wales. And then my parents immigrated to Canada when I was 2.
And where'd you guys grow up in Canada?
We grew up in Calgary, Alberta, and then I went to school there and university, and then I moved out to Whistler shortly after.
Now, I want to know more about your soccer career, because I know you were like big time soccer player back in the day, right?
Well, it was my dream to be a big-time soccer player, and then my dreams were cut short just right at the end of my university 5-year stint.
But you played for the junior national team and all that type of stuff, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, I just want to know more about like that's like that was your life basically, right?
Yeah, that was my life for sure. Yeah, I envisioned myself being a pro soccer player, and I looked up to Mia Hamm and the U.S. women's soccer team, and that was definitely like the only direction that I saw myself going in. But I did have a passion for snowboarding too, but it just wasn't. I didn't see that trajectory for a career in snowboarding at that point. But soccer was like organized. There was like a plan to get to a certain level. And yeah, I was on the junior national team, and then tragedy struck and I got into a big car accident.
And you were on scholarship too, right, for soccer as well?
Yeah. So the way it works in Canada is that you get nationally carded, and so you get your university paid for, and then a stipend, and then you get your travel and all that stuff paid for. It's pretty sweet.
So then you were on a snowboard trip or something, and you got in an accident. Is that what happened?
I was just on my way home from Sunshine with with the snowboard shop, Mission Snowboard Shop from Calgary.
I'm an air horn.
Yeah, they'd like an
Air horn. And yeah, we had this like big van, like it had skulls painted on the side of it, and we were driving home from Sunshine. There was 8 of us, like just couches in the back. There was a disco ball, and the driver fell asleep at the wheel, and we went off into a ditch, and then flew across this crossroad in between 2 highways, and then hit a pole.
So you get in the accident, and then everything changes at that point, because your soccer dream's also taken away with that, right?
Yeah. So there's this unspoken rule in organized sport, especially when you're carded, that you only focus on one sport. And I was definitely pinned with the fact that I was focusing on snowboarding as well, even though it was just my passion. So I got this letter in the mail shortly after, and they were revoking my status as a Canadian carded athlete. And my mom actually kept the rejection letter and gave it to me when North Face did a piece on it. And it said, "Is snowboarding even a sport?" Like,
Wow.
yeah, they were definitely like,
So it wasn't from injuries. It was just because you were doing two different sports that they.
yeah,
didn't
I
want you to
crossed
be
the
on
lines and it wasn't okay and it wasn't cool. And I tried my hardest to like say, hey, I can come back. I shattered my humerus in the accident. And yeah, I was trying to prove myself and prove my athleticism and all the things, but they weren't having it.
Do you have any regrets that soccer didn't work out, or are you stoked that it went the way it went?
No, I think that like things happen for a reason, and like I'm so grateful for the life that I have now. I can't even imagine, like, I think my soccer career would have been done shortly after compared to what I've been able to have in snowboarding. So I'm super grateful that my life was shattered that at that moment. I didn't know what I was going to do. And then I just was like in the middle of 2 degrees, finishing a biomechanics degree and an engineering degree. And I told my parents I was going to move to Whistler for a season. And they were like, no.
No. Please no.
What's crazy is people think that that's their worst day ever and life's never going to be the same. And now here you are with this amazing career and baby on the way. And
Yeah, it's crazy.
yeah, it's everything happens for a reason, and it is what it is. That's great.
Yeah, I mean, when I first moved to Whistler, I was sleeping on a couch, like a fold-out couch, with another friend in the room, and like, just scraping by, working at Earl's as a hostess, and doing what I could to survive. And so I really didn't really know what was going to happen. I just loved snowboarding so much. I went every single day and worked in the nights.
That you just said working at Earl's, and that seems like a rite of passage for every Whistler snowboarder, like Kuzik and Dara. Like, everybody's worked at Earl's, it seems like.
Oh, they welcome you with open arms.
Good food too. Love that place. I just want to you kind of breezed over it, but in that North Face piece I watched, you had a great quote. The kind of the punchline at the end is adversity is an opportunity to grow stronger. I thought that was a great quote.
Thank you. Yeah, I feel like when you're knocked down so hard and you have everything taken away from you, and it's somebody else's decision and it's not yours. I think you dig deep and you're like, okay, what do I truly want to do? And I feel like at that moment I truly listened to my gut pulling me to Whistler. I was like, the culture of snowboarding just seemed so much fun that I had to be a part of it. And yeah, that was my calling. I was like, I don't know what's happening. I know I'm leaving my biomechanics degree and I might not finish my engineering degree. I actually never finished the engineering. And my dad was an engineer, and all dads say that you're going to be an engineer. And so I was like, okay, that's what I'm going to be. And I remember people saying that I've ruined my life by going out to Whistler. And my parents called me back several times, like, you should get back here. You're just spending money and ruining your life. But yeah, just sometimes for some people, organized sport isn't the way to go. And I found more passion through snowboarding, and the community brought me in, and I just felt like it was so powerful. I could not go back to Calgary. Yeah.
Well, you definitely made the right decision. Now, as far as your snowboard career, I know you've been on K2 for a long time, but I kind of want to know how things got started and how your career started to take off.
Things got started in Whistler. I mean, like, I did a few contests in Calgary when I was growing up. It didn't really amass to anything. It was just more for fun. In university, my really good friend was Joanna Maharikiewicz was the university snowboard club manager. So we'd go on these like really fun trips with the university crowd. But I would say my snowboard career in Canada, like if you want to be a professional snowboarder, you go to Whistler. That's where the industry is. And that's not exactly what my intention was. I was just kind of going to relieve steam from my life disaster. But when I got to Whistler, I just snowboarded every day, and I had a handy cam, and me and my roommate just filmed each other, and I put out like a video on snowboard.com, and actually Bobby Meeks and Corey Grove saw it, and and I got a message from Bobby Meeks, and I was like, there's no way this is like the real Bobby Meeks messaging me. And they were like, what do you think about riding for K2? And I was like, what, a sponsor? Like, heck yeah. And so K2 sent me 2 boards and a contract in the mail. And right at the same time, I blew my knee. And so I was like, no. So I went back to Calgary to another semester of university and to pass the time in the summer. And Kevin English invited me to a Vans Triple Crown that fall. And I didn't tell them that I blew my knee because I was so scared to lose that opportunity. And when I got to the Vans Triple Crown, I was freaked out about hitting anything because I had this mental block about hitting things and maybe ruining my knee again. And I told Kim Bonsack that I blew my knee. And she's like, oh, you can tell us that you blew your knee. It's totally okay. She made me feel so comfortable. And they were like, let's go hit the baby jumps. And so I just got really comfortable. And they were like a really big help. And they were very supportive, K2 from the start. And yeah, I kind of was added to the AM team, I think, at the time when it was like the robot food crew on K2. It was so sick to be a part of that crew. So I learned a lot just traveling with them that year.
And then I know, I think Jeff was telling me that your first, one of your first big trips, you guys went to Iceland or something like that.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I did. I went to Iceland on a rail trip. See, I was invited by K2 to do all these slopestyle contests, but what I was really good at the time was hitting rails because my brother was a really good skateboarder. And so we would hit street rails in Calgary on our days off from school or whatever. And so I got invited on this rail trip to Iceland, which was so sick. And it was with Transworld. I think it was in like 2005 with Paavo Tikkanen, Jesse Fox, Scott Surface, the Helgesons.
Was Ben Fee on that story? The writer?
Maybe he might have been.
I think maybe he was. Maybe he wrote. I think I remember that feature in the mag.
Yeah. You know what? You're probably right.
Yeah.
I forget. My memory is so bad
Iceland's
these days.
crazy though, huh?
And young Helgesons actually seems amazing. Like probably like
that was before
17
that was
years
before
old.
They were a thing.
Yeah.
And so these guys were our guides, and Aki and Haldor were like taking us to rails that I was like mind blown by. Like it was like a down, around, a down. I'm like, people count stairs at this point. Like I'm hitting a 28 stair rail, like straight flat rail. and these guys are like, oh, we found this rail. And I remember Haldor or Aki, one of them front boarded the down, around, and down. And I was just mind blown. I was like, these kids are the future. They're just like on another level. And it was really sick to see them. And I think Jesse Fox actually helped Ike get on to Rome at that time. And that was definitely an eye-opener seeing those kids there. And we showed up to one of the rails they showed us was this like down, flat, down, flat, down. And it was a double bar. And they were like, Leanne, you should hit it. And there was no snow anywhere. And I was like, okay. This sounds fun. And then we built a jump, and then there was snow at the end. Classic early 2000s rail. And then it was at a school. So the principal brought the entire school out, lined them up at the bottom, and they're like, okay, Leanne, go. And so there I am. I'm like, this is kind of a technical rail for me to be hitting in front of school children. Like, I don't know if I want them to see me eat shit. And and I could not get the speed. And then Surface gave his camera to Jesse Fox. He's like, here, shoot like this. And then he ran up the stairs, and Big Surface was like, I'm going to pull you in. And he just went, whoom. And sure enough, I had enough speed and got it right away.
Really?
This rail, yeah.
What a legend.
Iconic.
Surface pulled you in.
It's iconic.
Gave his camera to
Surface
someone
and
else.
Airborne, yeah. Regular Clydesdale.
Yeah,
there,
but yeah, fully.
Amazing. Now that I just want to highlight, because that's when I'm thinking about your career. You're like, you're in Calgary. You're doing like little probably rail jams and stuff, and then you're whistling, and then you're on a AM team with Travis Parker and Vilay's on K2 at this time. It seems like was it pretty quick from like being relatively unknown to being like, oh shit, I'm in for K2.
I feel like I got brought into like the royalty club of snowboarding. Like that was like the it crew, and Gretchen Bleiler was on the team as well. And that was also when all the rail jams were popping up. So I had some success with a bunch of rail jams, and I was able to like kind of start.
Well, you're on the forefront of progression too. You're like front boarding rails and stuff that
Street trip in Iceland.
Yeah,
I mean,
hitting a lot of spots that you're on the forefront of progression at that time, dude. Don't count yourself short.
Well, I was inspired by. I mean, I remember when I was counting the stairs, and I remember seeing Jana, I think, and Tara hit this super long rail in like Tahoe, and I was like, oh, I know a rail in Kelowna that is like around the same size. I feel like I could probably board side. It was this tall rail. The spot was called Glen Rosa, and it's a pretty popular rail here in Canada. And so I remember when I could count the stairs, it kind of matched what like the top tier of the women's snowboarders were doing. I was like, okay, like I feel like I can kind of like ride the same level maybe on the rail front, but I was just having fun. It was funny that we were doing that at that time.
Sounds like a banger. But in regards to some early days snowboarding stuff, we have a guest question from none other than Spencer O'Brien. Here we go.
What up, Bombhole? Hey, Eastone. Hey, Grenier. Thanks so much for having me on today. Really excited to get to ask Leanne a question. She's one of my favorite people and has been a huge mentor to me for many years, really since the very beginning of my career. And that's kind of what I wanted to ask you, Leanne, is you have been such an incredible mentor to so many women in snowboarding. I personally owe so much to you when it comes to contract negotiations, agents, transitioning into the backcountry, how to choose a line, like the list goes on and on and on. And you've done that with countless women, not to mention Runway Films, Full Moon Films. Like, you've always just been a shepherd for us and have really helped so many women succeed in this industry. So my question is, did you have a mentor at the beginning of your career? If so, who was it? If not, where do you think that drive to really help other women succeed comes from? And to finish things off, I just thought it would be pretty funny if you told the story about that time me, you, and Jackie Berg were in Mammoth for the Dragon party at Fever. This is actually a super bad story for me, but it's hilarious, and I think I should tell it. Anyways, thanks so much, guys. Hope you all have a good one.
Aw, Spencer. She's the best. She's a dear friend of mine. Okay, that story, if she wants me to tell that story, I can't believe she even remembers the club name, but we were in Mammoth for some contest, and it was in the era, like the partying and the snowboarding, it kind of went hand in hand, and Spencer was like a super grom, and I think like I was doing the worm on the dance floor, and I broke my chin that night. And
doing the worm?
Oh, yeah.
That's a respectable move. Slap some respect on that. Yeah.
Chin strap for the worm.
Done one since then. I had a black chin for a few weeks. But I see Spencer, and she's so drunk, and see her in the bathroom, and she just like looks at herself and just vomits straight into the mirror. Oh! And I was like, oh my God.
Projectile.
Do it again. And I grab my phone and I'm like,
do it again.
I was just awestruck by like it was just unimaginable seeing someone puke to themselves.
Yeah, I've never heard of anyone doing that.
No. Yeah, we got in a little bit of trouble. I think Jackie got into an argument with the bouncer, and there was like some spitting going on. It was bad.
Yikes.
We got kicked out. And
It sounds like
it's one of those things that I'd
classic
like to
old
forget.
days. Yeah, old days of snowboarding.
Yeah.
And then her other question was, who were your mentors?
Oh, mentors. Mentorship. I would say when I moved to Whistler, I didn't necessarily have like female mentors, but Jeff and Kevin Sansalone and those guys were definitely helping me out. And I remember Kevin Sansalone gave me my first pair of dragon goggles and linked me up with Dave Burney to get kind of hooked up. And I bought a snowmobile, and this is when Jeff and I were like kind of hanging, and we weren't really together yet, but he was trying really hard, and he was like, he's like, who's taking you snowmobiling? And I'm like, you, like, obviously, come on. and then, but he was also like on his own path trying to be a snowboarder. And so he would take me out to the backcountry on his days off. And I kind of slowly learned through him. And I kind of just remember that was a great big help because I did not have a crew, and I relied on the guys to take me out. And I remember seeing there was like Victoria, Jalous, and Annie kind of pursuing the backcountry in our area. But they were so hooked up and so super pro at the time, and I just felt like, I wanted to do that, but I didn't know how. And so I definitely looked up to Jeff and the skids.
The skids.
But I feel like turning that into passing on knowledge, I feel like when you're younger, you need somebody, you need community, you need a mentorship. That's how you get somewhere in this sport. There's no other way. And I always felt like a responsibility to pass it on. And also I have felt rejection in snowboarding big time, just being a female. And I think for me, having a creative outlet was filmmaking. And I tried to turn that energy into a positive, like that feeling neglected from, maybe the boys club sometimes. I was like, all right, I know what to do. Get a camera, get a crew, make my own crew, and start the filmmaking stuff. So I think that's kind of where my energy or my passion for giving back came from.
Well said. Well said.
I have a Patreon question.
Yeah, fire it up.
This is from Thomas McGrath, and if anyone watching wants a chance to send in a question like Thomas has, check out patreon.com, look up the bomb hole, and you will have a chance. What was it like coming up in the golden era of snowboarding? And what do you think is the major difference of the IG era of snowboarding? And what do you think the pros and cons of both are?
Oh, good question. That's probably like several layers deep. It was amazing coming up in the early 2000s of snowboarding. There was so much energy being put towards snowboarding. There were so many icons of snowboarding made at that time. And I feel like at that time, you could also do it all. You could compete, you could film, you could do everything. It was kind of like not as specialized of a sport as it is now. And so it was really fun because you were always doing something different. I was filming on a rail trip in between contests. And I had the support of the sponsors. I think the sponsors were doing a lot more for the riders in curating these like iconic images. You were getting ads, and there was like so many magazines. And so there were certain riders that were just blown up at the time. And I think there's pros and cons. I think the pro is that the athlete didn't have to do a ton of stuff on the computer side. And whereas nowadays with Instagram, you see all the snowboarders really putting in the work to produce their own content and doing everything for themselves. the benefit of the digital era now is that you're kind of in control of your own content and you can blow yourself up. You don't need somebody or a company to acknowledge you as a rider. You can kind of like self-sustain a career on your own. But it's also diluted. There's so many people and maybe not as much cheddar biscuits to go around.
Yes.
So it's...
That is true. A magazine or a brand could run all these ads and all of a sudden you're topping the exposure meter. And yeah, you were just an iconic rider because there's 6 ads of you, one from every brand.
Yeah.
And now you just got to create it yourself. That's crazy.
Yeah, I think there's a lot more work nowadays that goes into being a professional snowboarder. And I've felt that for sure. But I've also I feel like when you get older, you take more responsibility on anyways. Mm-hmm. What do you guys think?
I just thought you just eloquently answered that, and probably the best I've heard it explained too, especially the marquee pros, when you're, is easy.
You're larger
You
than
line
life.
up with a photographer, you go get some photos. You don't even have to take your phone out ever.
Yeah.
You don't have to post anything. You just film a video part and somebody takes pictures of you. And not to say that that's necessarily easy, but if you had the right brands.
Brands were spending tons of money.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
They were funding it.
Yeah, I had a blast traveling in the early 2000s. I was just getting brought, to like Iceland, Japan, South America. We were doing catalog shoots in the fall. There was so much energy being put towards building up the snowboarders for the credibility for the brands. And it just seemed like it was it was really fun to be a part of. Whereas now it's a lot more like it's different.
How many followers do you have? It's like that type of shit.
Yeah.
It's kind of, which is
And you're like,
kinda
oh,
terrible.
metrics.
It's
metrics.
all about
yeah.
metrics.
But the
Shoot.
thing is that I'm curious about too, because you grew up in an era where you didn't really have too many female riders to look up to. It was like there's dime a dozen. How do you feel like as far as like women's snowboarding it is gotten better, and where can it improve?
I think that women's snowboarding has like astronomically gotten better. It's incredible to see the level of riding on all fronts, from the jibbers to the contest riders to the backcountry. It's so inspiring, and I feel like I came from hitting rails back in the day, and I still appreciate seeing that. So I follow all those young girls, and I can see the passion that they have, and I love seeing when they start their own crews, and especially what Jess has done with the Uninvited, and kind of she's mentored all that younger generation to come up, which is so powerful to see. And I think where women's snowboarding can go, I think just having more equity in the sport and seeing more mixed gender projects. And I think the industry is coming to having a come to moment where there's a lot more respect going towards the women, where more back in the day it was more of like not a joke. There was a couple women that were respected, but it was hard to gain that respect. So I think nowadays, there's a lot more respect for the women, and I think that's really important. It's not just like we're not putting this all on the women. What are they going to do to improve the sport? It's also leans on the men. So we need to have an inclusive sport for everybody to get lifted up. So I think we're in a good place right now, and even seeing like the progression of the contest world and seeing Travis Rice as the natural selection, there's lots going on in every single aspect of snowboarding. So I think it's an exciting time.
Yeah, good to know it's that the ship's at least heading in the right direction. And that being said, too, I kind of want to run back to mentorship too, because I think that's a fascinating thing, and it speaks to your character, because a lot of a lot of like, even, you know, if I'm speaking for maybe older men in snowboarding, maybe they don't want to like mentor the younger guys because they see them as a threat. You know, they might see the younger generation as a threat coming to take food off of their plate. And I just admire the mentorship from, you know, the older generation saying, hey, come on, I'll show you how to do it. Like you heard Spencer say, taught me how to negotiate contracts in the industry and all these things. And I don't know. I mean, I guess you kind of touched on it, but I want you to kind of maybe elaborate on what drives you to do that.
I just feel so much purpose to help the next generation because like, or not even the next generation, Spencer's like right there with me. But I don't know. I feel like there's a lot of fulfillment when like I can share knowledge because I really appreciated people sharing knowledge with me. I was like a sponge trying to navigate how to be a pro snowboarder. It's really difficult when you have no idea, like the connections you need to make. Like, how do you negotiate a contract without an agent? Do you need an agent? Like all these things. So when I see somebody coming up that is yearning for that kind of information, I'll gladly share it. And I think it helps all of us kind of. You know.
Well said. And furthermore, you know, if you could go back and give advice to, you know, a young Leanne Pelosi, what or for that matter, a young snowboarder coming up, what advice do you have?
Advice that I could have used when I was coming up. I was kind of what I saw in the media in snowboarding is what I felt like I needed to fit a mold. And I realized as I got older that I don't need to fit a mold and I can just be myself. And I feel like I realized this late in my career. You know, I was stuck doing X Games contests and slopestyle, and I really didn't truly love doing that. I wanted to be in the backcountry. And when I finally left the whole contest scene, I was like, okay, it felt so good. And also, in addition, like I felt like I had to hit these big cheese wedges. And that's not what I love to do. I love riding lines and pillow lines. And I really was inspired by Gigi Ruff back in the day and his creativity on his snowboard. And I kind of just wanted to like be my kind of, I don't know, imitate Gigi Ruff on a snowboard. And yeah, I realized that that's what I should do. I should just ride my snowboard how I want to ride it and not feel like I have to do this big jump with Hannah Beeman and send like a 1080. Like, that's just not what I was built for. And so I'm super happy I kind of finally settled into my true self of like wanting to ride lines. And in the last few years, I feel like I've definitely honed in on just listening to my gut of what I want to do. And so anyway, sorry to sum this up for advice I would say, you know, like don't feel like you have to be a certain person that you see out there. Just truly hone in on what you want to do with snowboarding on your snowboard, and that's when you will excel. It's all about having fun in the end.
I have a Patreon question to take this one level deeper from Callan Wang. Any shred advice for young girls or ladies transitioning from resort and park to big mountain?
Yeah, I would say that the first step is getting a little backcountry knowledge and do some avalanche courses. I think back in the day, we weren't very educated and we were just going out winging it. And I mean, nothing crazy happened, but there's a lot of crazy stuff that can happen. You really need to be self-sufficient out there. So I would recommend joining like a Facebook group of backcountry users and try to like gain as much knowledge before you, and go with a crew and go with somebody that knows more than you. Always.
Safety
advice.
First.
And I want to get into all that stuff, but what you said earlier, I just want to go back into that for a second because I think that's such a powerful thing. Because as a snowboarder, coming up, you know, in your head, I should be doing this. I saw that I should be hitting the cheese wedge. I should be hitting the down rail. This is what I should be doing, but it's not necessarily what you want to be doing.
No.
And I can relate to that so much where you're like, gosh, you know, and you find yourself doing the things that you're supposed to because it's like the industry things that people do, but it's like when it really works out for you, you fucking do what you want to do, and then you find yourself. And I don't know. I just thought that was. I just wanted to highlight that because I thought that was really well said.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, I think it's important when you see. It's important to carve your own path and do something that nobody else is doing, and then you can build your passion. And I don't know.
It kind of goes back to the quote we read on the show before the show.
Yeah, we do have the quote that we talk about on the air a lot. I don't know the key to success, but the key to failure is trying to please everybody.
Yeah. That's right there. That nailed it.
Yeah. But and then go ahead. Sorry, go ahead.
Oh, I just feel like you ultimately will end up in failure if you try to please other people and try to do what you think you should do. Why not just take a chance on yourself and do something that you want to do? People will appreciate that so much more.
And that's authenticity, is being you. And there's only one you. So be yourself. And that's what stands out. It's not when you try to be like the other person because they're the cool person and you want to be like them. Anyway, it's fun stuff to talk about.
I think it's just and it can get competitive. You see somebody doing well and you're like, oh no, I should be doing that. But you can just appreciate that. And then you can
do
your
way.
own thing.
Yeah.
And then it all works out.
All right. I think it's a good time to get into Name That Video part. Here we go.
Oh, no. Should have asked me this 10 years ago.
Name That Video part is presented by our Patreon. We are a podcast funded by the people, you guys. So major shout out to our Patreon members. Let's give them an air horn. Now, that being said, first things first, how you feeling confidence level, 0 through 10?
Pretty low.
The oh no, sinking in the chair. It's a pretty good giveaway. 0 through 10, what do you got?
4.
4.
That's pretty strong, actually.
Is it?
Respectable, yeah. Okay, you got to throw a headphone ear in.
Okay.
Let's see how you do. This could be big for you. Here we go.
To believe in the good old days, we still receive in little ways the things of kindness and unsporting brow forget and allow.
Well, you're gonna have to get mad at your partner for that one because he helped me tee that up. And
It's funny. She sent me some, maybe some things she watched. I forgot to send them to him. Sorry about that.
You could maybe do some crumbles.
So it's on him.
Is this where I get to call a friend?
This is a phone a
you can
friend.
phone a
This is
friend for
this
hints.
is like a lifeline.
Hints.
Who wants to be a millionaire?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'd like to use one of my lifelines.
I'd like to use one
You
of
could
those.
use Jeff.
Jeff?
Well, come listen to it.
that's
Come
right.
listen to it.
He can't hear
Maybe throw the headphones on. We got Jeff Keenan in studio, live audience.
Probably his
today.
video part.
All right, here we go.
To believe in the good old days, we still receive in little ways the things of kindness.
It
and
seems very
unsporting
Vulcan-y.
brow forget.
That you're on the right track. You're on the right track.
Do I? I was there? No, I wasn't there. Oh, the garden?
Yes, you got it.
That was one of the ones.
Yes, there it is. You got it right.
That's a win. That is a win.
And you got yourself a bomb hole prize pack.
Oh, thank you guys.
I think I don't know what's in there. Jules packed that thing.
sick.
I backed that one
Oh,
personally.
you did? Oh,
It's a
my bad.
Personal pack.
It's a personal package. We got a bomb hole hat
Nice. Thank you,
available
guys.
at bombhole.
We got a mug, a
.com.
Yeah, there's a
hoodie.
mug.
Use promo code Leanne Pelosi 40 for 40% off. Just kidding, that doesn't exist. But yeah, all that stuff's available. Even the satchel, it comes
Even
in.
the satchel.
You can save on
legit.
plastic bags by using reusable grocery bags branded by the Bomb Hole. So that being said, the second part of Name That Video part, this is for the listeners. If you guys know the song and you recognize it, comment on our Instagram on the photo of Leanne when our episode comes out, and that's where we pick our winner. Here we go. Okay. Thank you guys for playing. Name that video part. All right. Beautiful. Would you like the second Name That Video part song? You backing it?
I back it. One of my favorite artists.
Solid part. We don't want to give anything away. But, well, you know, since we're talking about video parts, I actually have a guest question from Dara Reed McLean that we're going to get into. Here we go. You got to throw the headphones on one more time. Sorry about that.
Hi, Bombhole. Number 1 Leanne Pelosi fan, Derry McLean here. Leanne, I've looked up to you since I was a teenager, and there are so many questions I could ask you, but I'll try to keep this short. So first question, what made you decide to start Runway Films back in the day? La La Land and See What I See are the videos that pretty much inspired me to want to film video parts, so I'd love to hear you talk about making those. And then second question, what was it like being kissed by Justin Timberlake? Okay, thanks, Leanne. Can't wait to listen to this episode.
Dara, thanks for the questions. And I guess there really wasn't much of a reason other than nobody else was going. I think Amber Stackhouse and Fabia Grubler had produced Mischief Films at the time, and they were these strong female movies back in the day, and I just did not want that to end. And kind of looked around, who's going to do it? Jeff, do you want to help me make a movie? I know you have experience making movies. And we just carried the torch. I had no idea what I was getting myself into. And yeah, it was a lot of work making movies, you know. You've made movies, haven't you?
I've been part of, yeah, definitely not to the extent that you have, but also the fact of the matter that you direct, produce, edit, and ride. That's fucked up.
Well,
that's a lot.
I didn't edit those movies.
Okay,
but I have edited quite a bit of Full Moon and stuff. But yeah, I mean, I was shooting with a camera because like I'd grown up with cameras. So my dad always had a camera around. I knew how to operate a camera, and I was like, I'll just operate a camera. Picked one up. Was definitely not the most talented with a camera, but I knew how to make it happen. It didn't need to be like, you know, A-grade style. I just wanted to document. So yeah, fortunately at the time, Jeff agreed to produce with me, and we started Runway Films. Thank you, Jeff, for all your hard work. I think we broke up during that time for a summer. It gets stressful. Like, yeah, riding in it, that's the fun part. Doing all the back end work on the end is the hard part. And, you know, like producing a film, you definitely, I mean, at that time, well, every time you produce a film, you just got to start and you don't have money, and then you have to try and get the sponsorships going. So that was stressful, but it's so worth it. And I just think it's so fulfilling being able to create something that can be last on the shelf forever. And when I look back at those films, I can't believe how far we've come. It's incredible. Like,
but there's some banger parts in those. Don't count yourself short.
Yeah, there was some. I mean, yeah, there was. Like, I remember going on a trip with Natasha Zurich and Jana Mayen and Anne Flor Markser, and we showed up in the interior BC. And Natasha Zurich, there was a huge pole, probably 25 feet tall, with a big pillow of snow on top of it, with a cat track gap and a huge jump that she had built. And she aired and hit this pillow thing, and then landed in this short little tranny, and that was mind-blowing, and it still is. And I remember recently Kevin Griffin was like, oh, I think I'm going to hit this thing. I'm like, oh, Natasha Zurich hit that. He's like, no way. What movie? I'm like, it was in the early 2000s, and it was sick. He's like, did she go over the cat track? I'm like, yes, she went over the cat track. It was sick. So, yeah, there was some legit stuff.
Specifically, what goes into producing a movie?
It's hard to write it down on a list, but there's just organizing the crew to getting sponsorships to hiring filmers to setting up a bank account, doing expenses, doing taxes, all the things that require you to be on a computer and a phone constantly. So, yeah, I would say, producing takes away from sometimes being an athlete, and that part sucks. But at the same time, it feels so good to create something for the community of snowboarding versus doing something for yourself. It's like so much more fulfilling.
And sometimes it's not only getting sponsors, but getting them to pay too.
Oh yeah.
Getting those checks to show up.
Yeah, definitely.
How did Full Moon then become Runway?
Runway Films was...
Or Runway become, you evolved into Full Moon?
Yeah, so after those 2 films that Jeff and I produced, we were pretty like burnt out. It was full on, just full year cycle of work. And I think we decided to take a break. I had the opportunity to film with some other film production companies, and I didn't have the best experience, to be honest. I felt like I worked really hard. I went to on all these jib trips, and I kind of just got left in the dust. My footage never even saw the light of day in the films, and realized that, you know, I can take back the control and have my footage. That's my work for the season, and it motivated me to start Runway Films Full Moon. When Full Moon came to be from just being really good friends with Annie Boulanger, Marie France, Jamie Anderson, Robin Van Gin, Helen Schittini, Elena Height.
Stacked crew right there.
Yeah, and so most of us were, Hannah Beeman. So we were all in and around Whistler and trying to create our own reality of being these backcountry snowboarders. And it was still the era of a little bit of female tokenism. If there was a female in a snowboard movie, it would be one, and that was it. So I think we were all at a dinner party, and I was like, what if we just like all came together and made a movie? And I wasn't sure how that was going to go, but everybody was on board. And I was like, let's just focus on having fun and like, you know, showcasing backcountry snowboarding. And I think that was the start of the progression of what has happened in the backcountry back then. That was 2015 and 2016. And at the time, you know, we tried so hard to, like, we went out every day. We didn't have any snow the first year. We turned it into a 2-year project. And I remember at the time, like, Transworld, they came to watch our movie, and I just don't think snowboarding was really ready for, like, line riding. And they were like, yeah, you know, like, there wasn't really that much progression. And I remember just getting so upset, and I called them. I'm like, you really have to rewrite your review. This is not okay. And now that I look back, like, it made me feel so shitty to feel that there was this much criticism about our riding. But there was also so much support. We had so much support from the community. And we also had like so many we had a Kickstarter, and we had so many supporters that supported the project to come to life. So we were well supported, but maybe not, I didn't feel like we got that like core respect. And now that I look back at that project, I'm so proud of it. And I think that was a great starting point for where the progression has happened out there. So yeah, sometimes it's not going to be the best project right from the start, but that's one of the projects I'm super proud of.
I have a Patreon question about the project as well from Danielle Rittman. What kind of impact did Full Moon have on snowboarding, and how can the industry support more projects like it?
I think Full Moon was just a step in a different direction. You know, when we talk about like doing conforming to what we see and what we think we need to do, there wasn't really an outlet for women in the backcountry realm of snowboarding at that time as a whole. And so I think Full Moon helped create an opportunity for more women to get involved and see that there was a route to do that and not just the contest. So, I think that I would have loved to do like a Full Moon too. It was honestly just so much work. I was still like working on it the year after. And I think where we're at now with snowboarding, I would love to produce another film in the backcountry. I think there's a whole new crop of riders that are very well versed. You've got Zoe, Spencer, all these other, Jamie Anderson, like all these, Haley Langland, Anna Gasser, Dara Reed, like all these women that are just like doing it. And it would be rad to see that all come together in a film.
I would love to see that.
Yeah, that'd be amazing.
And another thing too to talk about is the learning curve of riding lines, because there's a huge fucking learning curve with that. Even, speaking of myself, like drop in, it's like white out myself, lose where I'm at, like fucking, I just gave up. Honestly, I literally gave up. I'm like, this shit's fucked. But do you want to, I'm like, there's a down bar. I can go get 5 clips on that. And, so.
And not fog up
I
your
can relate to
goggles.
that because it's when you're good at something like rails, you can, and that you can get a shot, you can stay there until you get the shot. Mm-hmm. And in line riding, you put one line down a face, done. Mm-hmm. You're waiting till the next snowfall.
And
so
sunny
it's hard.
day, who knows how long it might be up where you live.
Yeah.
And knowing where you are on the slope, when you drop in, you look at it from the bottom, and you come down. You're like, wait, what am I supposed to jump off? Where am I? This is
I
way. Oh, I thought this was 20 feet. This is 40 feet. Oh shit, yeah. So how is like that learning curve?
The learning curve of riding lines is very slow and monotonous and painful, and like you've got to put so much time into being in the mountains and just getting comfortable in riding like big terrain and riding it safely. And yeah, it's just a lot of memorization, reverse memorization. You're like, hey, where that tree is, there's a blind knoll, so I should know that it's blind, but don't slow down there. Like you have to have all these mental cues when you're riding a line to nail it. Because if you stutter at all, it's just like not a shot. So yeah, it's definitely, you gotta, I think flow, power, speed, and confidence are what you need to nail a line. And it takes a long time. It's so easy to mess it up.
What about some of the other trials and tribulations of backcountry snowboarding that maybe the average resort goer doesn't see, with like just getting the damn snowmobiles to the fucking location can be a problem at times.
Oh yeah, that was years in the making.
Years in the making.
Just learning. I mean, I got my snowmobile in like 2005, kind of when Jeff and I started hanging out, and he started taking me out. And then for 4 years, I was scared shitless of sledding. Just the thing's so heavy. Can't move it once it gets stuck. And I remember like even going out for with Standard Films back in the day. They're like, okay, yeah, we're going to go to that cliff over there. Yeah, cool. We'll see you there. And like, okay, I'm just getting left on my own to like make it there. Like that was the thing. You just had to be good enough to make it there.
Don't get stuck.
Not get stuck. And if you were, you're left behind. And I mean, that's definitely like doesn't happen these days anymore with just the danger in the backcountry, but they
wouldn't come dig you out if you got stuck. You're on your own to figure it out.
I remember just like,
okay, throwing you to the sharks.
I will make it up there. I'm just like,
yeah. Nowadays, the Whistler's pretty well paved. It gets pretty well paved, doesn't it?
Oh yeah, it's like
fucking I-80 out there.
Backcountry is like the ski resort now. There's definitely like enthusiasts that beat you out to lines in the morning that are just
enthusiasts.
Oh yeah, yeah. And we're like, damn it.
They're not shooting or anything, or maybe they're on GoPro or something.
No, there's some really damn good rippers in Whistler, and we got beat by them a few times.
Well, they just buy a sled so they don't have to go to the resort.
Yeah.
To get the best power.
Yeah, Whistler's busy. It's very busy. And so the backcountry is definitely.
Are these kind of enthusiasts safe and all that?
Yeah. Yeah.
Now I want to touch on, I was watching one of your parts in Full Moon, and there's like a quick clip of you getting taken down in a pretty big Avi, and I talked to Jeff. It sounded like you didn't get
Defiance.
Yeah, yep.
Yeah.
And it kind of cut, so I didn't know. Did you get fully buried on that?
Oh, or was it Full Moon?
It was Full Moon.
Okay. Yeah, no, I got buried to like here.
Wow.
Yeah, that was, we were riding a line, and there was just a wind buffed thin layer, and there was this Bergstrand mid slope, super, like you wouldn't have picked that out.
Can you explain what that is for the listeners?
A Bergstrand is where the glacier, the mountain kind of like recedes from the glacier or the lake or whatever. No, it was the glacier. And so it creates this hole, this gaping hole that's like, could go all the way to the ground. And this one went all the way to the rock. It was like 20 feet deep.
And when I said 40. Viewers and listeners, I meant myself, actually.
I don't even know if I'm saying it right. Bergstrand.
There's a little burst. There's a burr.
Strum.
Use weird, big adjectives to describe snow. They're like, yeah, that's right.
Yeah, so there was that. And that created an instability because it was the slope was unsupported then because there was this like hole at the bottom of the slope. And so I did these I dug in deep, did 2 big turns, and then boof, the whole slope just cracked. It wasn't very deep, but I remember seeing this hole. I had no time to think, and I caught my front edge, my nose, and just flipped right over it. But then the whole slope was coming down on top of me, and so that was pretty scary.
But you could have went in the hole.
I could have gone in the hole.
Jeez.
And I just made it over. Usually the Bergstrands are higher on the top and lower on the bottom, so you generally would fly over them, but sometimes they get big.
Yeah.
And they're like catcher's mitt, where it's like
and you don't know how deep
you're
they can
falling
be.
in.
Huh? Wow.
Yeah, and it would have been really dangerous if I fell in.
Yeah,
But
you need someone with ropes to come in there. And you talk about confidence. I mean, that'll shatter your backcountry confidence right there when I get an avalanche, huh?
yeah, the filmers were freaking out because they didn't really have eyes on me, and I was just like, this is happening. This is the first time this happened to me. I was like, swimming, couldn't really do it. And I had got this like anchor attached to my feet. I don't think I had time. I don't even think I had like an airbag at that time. And so, yeah, I was just hoping to stay up.
Now, I want to talk about you are a certified guide here in the States, tail guide in Canada, right?
Oh, tail guide, yeah. I've been doing some educational courses the last few years, mainly just for my own safety and being self-sufficient out there. I don't know what that will transpire into, but it's been super interesting learning some snow science in Canada and taking some courses and kind of taking that path. I just feel like that's the right thing to do, especially when getting into bigger terrain.
Yeah, well said. And then your friends' lives are in better hands by doing that, right? That's the thing you don't think about is like you're dependent on how fast your friends can dig you out and know how to use their equipment, whether you live or die in a lot of those situations.
Yeah, it really helps to do training, and I definitely commend Baldface for doing that avalanche safety course. I've done that twice as well. It's just the more practice you get, the better you are. Like, I've been in a position when I was with Victor Delarue and Jake Lovell, and we had quite the spicy trip in Whistler for this North Face movie, Defiance. And I thought I was witnessing Victor get into an avalanche and not make it out. He went over something so big, probably 60 feet of like 3 cliffs, disappeared. We saw 2 avalanche paths go down. We didn't know which one he was. And in my head, it was just like, all these things come to mind, and it's like, okay, this training has helped because I know what I'm going to do next. Eyes on him. We were communicating, like we were ready to go, and then we see him pop out at the last second, this orange little speck, and he had triggered his airbag and gets on the mic. He's like, I thought I was going to die. I'm like, we did too.
Wow.
So
That's
terrifying.
crazy. 2 different Avi paths like that. Wow.
Yeah, it was just a really big unsupported slope with cliffs all below it, and he was riding this nice line, and then it just went. The storm slab went deep, and it went over the cliffs, and it was kind of just like undulating terrain, so it went in 2 different directions. That was really scary. Because we had 2 problems then.
Yeah.
And it was just Jake and I at the top.
Wow.
And we were kind of like, okay, where are you going to go? Where am I going to go?
So you would have just split up. That would have been
Kinda,
the only option, huh?
Yeah.
That's
Scary.
hectic.
And then
yeah.
heli, and then in the heli, there's a photographer, filmer.
They were just off on different.
Other
they were like
parties.
across the valley.
Got it.
Yeah.
So you guys would have been the fastest to get to them, huh?
Yep.
Hectic.
Well, buds, I think it could be a good time to transition to the pub beer crap shoot. What do you think about that?
Do it.
Okay. Well, you're gonna crack a pub beer.
Cracked. Consider it cracked.
Yeah, we'll consider that thing cracked. Now, if you're thinking about, how is it, first of all?
That's delicious. It's cheap, fun, and delicious. They should add delicious to the end.
Now, our kind of motto that we've taglined here is if you're thinking about getting absolutely fucking obliterated and drinking 75 beers or drinking 1 or 2 casually, what are you going to choose?
You're going to choose pub beer every time.
That's absolutely correct. Again, do that responsibly, I have to say, for legal reasons. So, basically, with pub beer crapshoot, you just roll these dice right here. We'll tell you what you got to do. Okay. The 6 is goon gear. So
We got an 11.
Oh, this is a good one. If you had to be Siamese twins with one person in the industry, who would you pick to be stuck with?
Good question. Who could I? You know what? I would be stuck to Jamie Anderson. I would love to get into her mind.
You get dragged off some massive kickers.
She just seems
and we're
so,
double corking.
Yeah. And we're double corking. And yeah, we're going to do a double cork 10 and then do a 9 and then we'll get pretty dizzy there.
It sounds stressful at the top of the Olympics and everything else. Like, okay.
That's a stressful journey.
Hang on. We're about to drop.
But somehow she always seems so zen.
Yeah, she's so casual, huh?
Yeah, she's definitely one of the greats.
She is. So this is from Seth Milana. What advice could you give a pops to his daughter on being supportive in cultivating the snowboard culture?
First of all, thanks for the question. And you are on the right track in supporting your daughter in snowboarding. I think that's rad because I actually did not have the support of my parents. They were like, get back to school. Would have been really nice to have that support. But yeah, just I think let her carve her own path through snowboarding and there's not just one way into becoming successful in snowboarding. It's a lifelong sport and it's a journey and she can compete or she can go into the backcountry. There's so much to offer. And I feel like we get our best life experiences through being a part of this community. And it's the best community I've ever found. So I would say just be there for her and support everything that she wants to do.
Solid answer.
That is a great answer.
What do your parents say now?
Well, they're pretty happy. We're expecting. They did not think that was going to happen.
They didn't even think that would be a thing with your lifestyle?
No. So my parents are pretty happy. They just can't believe that snowboarding keeps going on and on and on. And to be honest, like, either can I. I'm so grateful that I've been able to have longevity in this sport. But I would attribute that just to the fact that, like I was saying before, is there's so many aspects to snowboarding and so many different directions you can go in. The key to having longevity is just evolving. And I definitely feel like the sky is the limit in backcountry snowboarding. So
that's awesome. And you look at your career, you're coming up on 2 decades. And that's, you know, I had some notes I wanted to talk about that too. Is like you've reinvented yourself from jib jams to park riding to video parts to backcountry and yeah, I don't know. I just want to kind of highlight that because does that keep it fun when you're doing something new and you're evolving?
Thank you for those comments. I think it's just like it's just really fun to always build on, like, you do something and then you like look around and there's this other thing to do. Like, I just think it gets, I don't think I could have been hitting the streets until this point.
See, that's, that's where you and I differ. I want to be like 80 years old on a street trip. You know what I mean? Just
that's
like
epic.
Just kind of like back tacoing handrails with like gray hair.
You can't be like 80 and progressing, but you could be up ripping powder lines at not point. 80, but.
Yeah. I mean, it's also what's accessible to you. Like, you've got the most amazing arena for street riding, probably right around here and all around the States. Like, where I live in Whistler, what stands out is the backcountry. And so for me to go on a rail trip, I'd have to go to Montreal. And yeah, I've like somehow stepped away with that. But I do appreciate watching and seeing the progression of it. So cool.
When I take it back, Mikey's out there progressing.
That's
Mikey
true.
LeBlanc. I saw some clips.
Really?
He's got a video part coming out that is going to be amazing.
Oh, he's so creative. I
Yeah.
love watching him ride.
I saw a little sneak preview of.
He's got heaters.
He's got heaters.
Another thing Jeremy
New
Jones
toboggan
said, because we
clips,
were
too.
talking about all ABDs, already been done
Already
tricks.
been done.
And apparently Jeremy said that all ABDs are reset once you get past 40.
40, yeah.
Oh, it's true.
So
Full reset.
It's a full ABDs are reset.
Full reset. Spots are open.
Because Jeremy said, he's like, all right, when that kid turns 40 that's upset, tell him to go to that spot
Yeah.
and do that same trick
See
when
how
he's in
he's
his
feeling.
40s. Come talk to me.
And see if he's still got it.
And those are true words right there.
Another thing, going back to the advice for the parent, I think there's another. I got another angle I'd like to go where you actually are really hard on them and you actually disapprove of everything they're doing.
Ooh.
And then they become professional athletes out of pure spite.
Reverse psychology.
Yeah, and
true.
you
Yeah.
kind of you make them like never give them any approval. So then they're always looking for that,
Yeah,
and then
like struggling.
they're struggling. Like, please, Dad, like approve of what I'm
Approve
doing.
my
and
back
like I just
lip.
won the Olympics. You're like, nope, not good enough. You know, and then they become
You
great.
got silver, you could have
I
got
feel
gold.
like that's the kind of parenting that I got. growing up.
Look how it worked out. See, look how it worked out. Worked out great.
Spiteboarding is a thing for sure.
Yep. There's a couple different avenues you can go with that.
Your parents never liked your back lips.
Actually, I did have supportive parents. I think that's why I'm not a great. You know.
you could have been great.
I could have been great. They were too supportive. That was my damn
They said
problem.
you were awesome.
Yeah.
all the time.
I'm fucking resentful at them for that.
You really
feel
could
bad,
have been
but-
one of the greats.
No, they said what you're doing's fine. You know,
Yeah.
and it was not true. It was not
Hey,
good
you
enough.
were successful. You are successful.
Actually, I wake up in the morning. I do my mirror shadow
puke in a mirror?
boxing. I do my shadow boxing, and then I projectile vomit directly into the mirror.
Projectile puke at myself.
It's my morning routine. Speaking of projectile vomiting, I know how's the pregnancy stuff been going?
Projectile vomiting.
I've heard. I'm not well versed, but I heard that's a thing that happens.
Yeah, it's a thing, and I have had it bad.
Damn.
Yeah, it's usually only lasts 12 weeks. I'm at 6.5 months and still feeling sick. So it's
Really?
it's like if I do not eat, then I'm in for it. Like I wake up at 4 a.m. usually and have cereal or go downstairs and eat pizza and I'll go back to bed.
I do that too. I'm not pregnant. I think I had some fruity pebbles last night at 3 a.m.
Oh man, I feel like I got a lot of work to do this summer after carb loading for 6.5 months.
Any wild cravings?
I've been craving oranges.
Oranges?
And then if I eat the oranges, the baby kicks like crazy right
Really?
after. It's like, this isn't my craving. This is his
Yeah,
craving.
that's what you want. It's
Yeah,
not
that's
I
what you want.
Now the kick, you think we're gonna,
Or maybe it's a kick of enjoyment.
a kick of like maybe
Thank
a
you.
potential soccer
Yeah.
star? Is that there's some
Soccer
soccer
kick.
genes coming out?
I
We
don't
want this
know.
baby to be an athlete. We were talking soccer. We talking snowboarding.
I think we're talking surfing and snowboarding
Wow,
and skateboarding.
okay, all
Yeah.
right. Yeah, get the kid
No
on
hockey.
some. Get them on some
soccer.
human growth hormone at a young age, so
Is
they
the
just
baby going to be like on trips
Huge.
right out the womb or what?
Baby's been on trips in the womb.
Or in the womb, out the womb, all of it.
Baby almost competed in natural selection. I was this close to deciding to ride.
It was up to you. It was just like whatever you decide.
They were actually super cool. I called them a few weeks before and told them, and they were like, I was like, I would
whoa.
love to have the ball in my court to decide if I want to compete or not. And Liam was like, oh yeah, for sure. He's like, I told Travis, it's all good. He's like, I didn't tell him which girl was pregnant. I'm like, you should probably just tell him because he's going to freak out and wonder who is.
Yeah.
But no, I showed up to the natural selection and he was being so positive. Travis, he's like, I think the course is going to ride well. And I was like, yeah. And then we went and did course inspection and I was like, I don't think this is safe.
Yeah, 6 months along.
No, that was a few months ago.
A few months ago, huh? You're right. The first one.
It was like just in the golden trimesters, they
Yeah.
say. It was like, Jackson Hole.
Yeah, so
But,
that was a couple months ago.
As soon as I saw Dustin Craven was the first athlete to drop in, I was like, oh God, like I'm so glad I didn't compete in that. That wouldn't have been safe. And then when I got home, I went to Alaska on a trip. We got skunked. I feel like the universe was like, you are not sending it.
The
this
universe
year.
is trying to chill you out.
Yeah, because I got home and I found out I had a condition called placenta previa. So if you land hard on your butt, you could just bleed out. It would be really bad for the girl or for the mom and the.
So you're probably
baby.
supposed to like chill mostly.
Kind of, yeah.
Yeah.
I've been snowboarding
And you're like
a little
just
bit.
out
I
shredding.
can't imagine violently tomahawking being great for a pregnancy.
No.
And what's Dad say about all this stuff?
I mean, he was pretty.
Has he been trying to keep you chill, or is he just like, whatever?
No, he was supportive. He was like, I think
He's
at
like,
the
if you're
very
going to enter natural selection, win. It's win or nothing.
I mean, I was feeling pretty good physically. I wouldn't have done it if I didn't feel good physically, but I just, the condition, it had to been like really safe.
Yeah, like extremely buttery pow. And
Yeah, and it just wasn't lining up, so kind of had to accept that.
it's better to err on the side of caution.
Totally, yeah. So, yeah, it's been difficult not, like I don't feel injured, but I know I've got to like be really
you gotta
safe.
chill.
Yeah.
Season's almost done.
I know.
Soon you guys are going to be leaving the hospital. You guys are going to have a little baby.
It's
Like
gonna be
that's
crazy.
fucking wild.
Little bundle
Yeah.
of joy. A bindle of joy or bundle
I
of
think
joy?
I would say bundle, but
Bundle,
Yeah,
okay.
Bindle's more of a drug reference.
All right, you got that wrong.
They don't really prepare you. You guys have been reading books.
Yeah, they
What
don't
have you guys
really
been
prepare.
doing?
They just kind of send you home with a kid, huh?
My friend gave me a book. They send you home with a book.
Oh, they do. Like, here you go.
Yeah.
Good luck.
It's called Baby's Best Chance.
Baby's best chance. That's what it's called.
Gotta pick that up.
Baby's only chance.
I've been flipping through that, and Colleen Quigley actually mailed me a book. She just went through motherhood.
Give her an air horn.
But just every in Canada, every hospital gives you the Baby's Best Chance book. That's a thing.
I think so. I don't know. I haven't done it yet.
Yeah,
so
you'll
we'll see
find
if we
out.
Yeah, but she's like, you should read this before you have the kid. And so Jeff has read it. He's pretty good at reading, and I've just been kind of like flipping through it.
Give me the.
I
Cliff
really
notes.
do need to.
Yeah, read it and let me know what they're saying.
Yeah.
Is there an audio version? Maybe you catch that.
Yeah, I've been listening to podcasts.
Baby
But
part. I'm
yeah,
sure there's a
definitely,
million. Huh?
I was not prepared for the. It was a surprise, and so it was definitely not prepared, and I still feel unprepared. I'm like,
It was
oh,
a
no.
surprise. Were you nervous at first with your career and everything?
Yeah, I was definitely like, oh my God, do we want kids? Do we what do we want to do? I had like a little bit of a life crisis. I would say you get like 3 months to figure it out, because 3 months are the most vulnerable time of pregnancy, and there's so many things that can go wrong, and you have to make all these milestones. And we did all the testing, all the things, and we're like, okay, if it's healthy, then we're definitely pulling through with this. And sure enough, it was. And so we're like, all right, we're doing this.
It's on.
Yeah. And so I kept it quiet for a little bit. I had a big North Face event, and everybody was drinking, and everybody's like, why aren't you drinking? And Jess Kimura calls me out at Sushi Village. She's like, what, did you find God or something? And I was like,
They're just
no,
tripping. You're not drinking.
I'm just on medication. It was so awkward. And then I called my sponsors after, and they're like, we knew it. We knew you were pregnant. I'm like, you did not. But
You're all on medication. It says not to drink on the bottle. It can cause dizziness.
It is a bit odd for me not to partake in drinking at a big dinner. So, yeah, people are on to me. But, as far as sponsors go, I told everybody, and everybody's been pretty supportive. And I feel like this pregnancy has definitely brought me closer to Kimi Fasani and Maria Thompson, and trying to ask them for mentorship about how to navigate being a pro in snowboarding and keep the career going. So Kimmy definitely had some really good advice, and she's a part of this organization called And Mother organization. And what they do is they provide verbiage to go into your contract that protects you as a pregnant athlete. So
Wow, that's awesome.
Badass.
it's really cool.
I didn't know that existed. That's great for other people to hear, I'm sure, too.
Yeah, I think it's good to be I kind of didn't know if we should like keep it private. And then I was like, you know what, we shouldn't keep this private. We should let everybody know, because it would be nice to normalize being an athlete and being pregnant, and also wanting to have a family and continue the professional athlete career. And so, yeah, been trying to share.
That's a real thing with women, like when they're like, "Well, I have kids, like my career, it's gonna end," you know, and not as much for dudes, you know, and that's a really cool thing to just highlight, because it's like, you know, I talked to that with my girlfriend Leah about that. She's a big concern of hers. It's like, we have kids. What am I gonna? Is my career, you know? And I think that's so cool. The contract negotiations where you can keep that intact.
Yeah, it's super important. I don't know, like for the most part of my career, I never even considered having a family, because it wasn't a thing. It was, you're either a snowboarder, you're not gonna have, or if you're gonna be a mom, you're piecing out. And until Kimi Fasani came around recently and continued her career, I think it's kind of opened everybody's eyes. And like, yeah, I definitely waited to the last minute to do it, but I'm super stoked that these women have paved the way for me to be able to continue my career. And yeah, I'm planning on, I guess, just continuing. Like, it's not like I'm losing my passion for snowboarding or my ability. Like, it's just, I'm out for a little bit, and then we'll be back with a little.
I think you were referencing like,
it's like 9-month ACL reconstruction, but I can even do more than that. Like, I can actually
really bad knee.
Like, I can still be in the mountains, which is sweet.
You're still hellion.
Yeah, I can still ride powder. It just has to be really mellow, and I can't fall. But so it's a little bit better than an ACL reconstruction.
That's a true story.
Well, I want to get into a hard-hitting topic here. Hard-hitting. Now, you know, I think it's cool when I look at yourself and Jeff. You guys have a cool relationship. He seems very supportive. He's helped produce films. You guys have a little baby on the way. Do you have any little nuggets of information for a good relationship advice? Do you have any relationship advice for maintaining a good relationship?
Yeah, I would say that the most important thing that I've learned for keeping this relationship strong is to have our own independence. And Jeff and I have always been really respectful of each other's careers, hobbies, all the things. So when he has to go on a trip or do something with his friends, he does that. And like, I think that's kind of kept the fire lit for us for so long.
Yeah, there must be a lot of travel, right?
Yeah. And
for both of you guys.
Jeff was like severely busy with Dinosaurs Will Die for so many years. And I think like there was a point where I was like, I'm just waiting for you to like be free so that we can go somewhere. He's like, babe, you can go on a trip anytime you want. And I was like, oh, I can? And I feel like that was a moment, the aha moment. I was like, okay, yeah, you know, the more independence we are able to have while being in the relationship, the stronger it's become. We're just, we're so trusting of each other.
That is
that's great.
Really, 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 really good advice, because I think that most listeners, myself included, being a listener currently, like can learn a lot from that, because there is that independence where, you don't realize, I can go on vacation without my significant other, work. Yeah, the independence thing is just a great bullet point.
Yeah. And sometimes, I mean, last year, Jeff and I worked together for the first time. Well, not for the first time, but it was just us two. He was filming and I was riding, and I kept checking in with him. I'm like, okay, you don't feel like you have to film me, because you don't have to film me. If you want to, like, I love this. We're having fun. We would switch off cameras. I'd make sure to take the camera and he'd go ride a line. And so we kept it fun. And that definitely, I think, kept our season going pretty strong last year. It was like one of the best seasons I've ever had.
And the communication sounds like it was really good, huh? If you were checking in with them like that.
Yeah.
That's crucial. Trust, communication.
Yeah. And so now that I'm a little bit out, Jeff's gone on to film other crews this year, and he's loving that. So it's good to see him with just doing his own thing.
Amazing. Now, I want to kind of get back into thing. Maybe not everybody knows that you direct and produce, like, not just snowboard films, but also like commercials and things like that. Is that what it is?
I did after Full Moon. Had a lot of opportunity come my way, and I wasn't seeking it out, but I definitely took some opportunities, and I was really fortunate. I got to do some dream projects. Got to direct a skateboard, like TV show, like a cartoon, with all the best skaters, like Leo Baker and Nora Vasconcelos and Care Beth Burnside and badass skaters. It was so fun. I lived in Hollywood for a month. Wow. and just interviewed them, and that was like a really fun experience. And then I went to New Zealand with Chloe Kim and did a piece for her for Samsung for the upcoming Olympics before she won her first gold, and that was really fun. And I think all these opportunities have come through just the female empowerment side of Full Moon and these media companies looking for a female director. So I've been super fortunate and had a lot of fun doing these side projects. And then another big project that I did was produced an Audi commercial for Audi Canada for the e-tron. And I don't know, I got to hire like a crew of 30. It was like a big production. It was super stressful for 3 days, but the crew nailed it, and I just hired everybody that was like really on point. And it's been, yeah.
Now, Jeff said it was a bit of a love-hate relationship.
What?
With directing, producing, things like that.
Well, really?
Oh, shit. Sorry. Let's squeak, maybe. I don't know. Yeah, maybe.
Well, I think it's directing and producing. It takes a lot. It's a lot of work. But I appreciate the extra work that comes my way, because I feel like Jeff and I are a little bit of we're hustlers, and we've got these like all these other side projects. Oh, the puppies are
Jeff,
coming in.
The dogs are entering.
Phil knows how to open doors. It's like when they discover the Velociraptor can open doors in Jurassic Park.
That's what's going on here.
They're like, hey,
Phil figured that out.
Do you have any more treats?
Sticks his little head in.
Yep.
All the directing and producing stuff, like the side projects that I've had outside of snowboarding, have landed in the summer. So it's been super fun to fill my summer with work like that, especially dream projects, working in action sports. But when it comes to producing films in snowboarding, it definitely does. I do have a love-hate relationship with it, because it takes away from being a professional snowboarder. There's just so much work that goes into it, and it's a thankless job, and sometimes it's just hard when you're like supposed to be in the mountains, but you're like trying to, wrangle all the cats together and trying to get them to like be together and do something productive. And it's just, it's a lot.
There's no discounting how much bandwidth is required to manage human beings.
It is a full-time job.
A 30-person crew with that Audi commercial? That sounds crazy.
It was crazy, but I hired all the right people, and they were all self-sufficient. Yeah.
Was there any action sports tied to that, or was it just a straight-up Audi commercial?
It was, no, there was action sports. There was Leah Dawson surfing, Jamie Anderson, Marie France, myself. We're all kind of athletes in it.
That's cool.
And we did this kind of soul recharge idea. It was for the electric car, and we went out to Tofino, and we filmed a little surf fun mini getaway vacation kind of thing.
Nice. I surfed Tofino once. That place is dope. Full wetsuit. Woo.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
Ice cream headaches as you're duck diving.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. You gotta have a 5'4". Yeah. That was.
Did they break off a car for you after?
No, but they showcased that when you got into the YVR airport. It was like on this huge
big
screen. Yeah,
you'd see your work. That's cool.
Yeah, and then they did an interview with us in their Audi magazine.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Killer. Well, we almost skipped over another guest question I have. This one is presented by Mountain Dew. We have Mountain Dew athlete showcasing this guest question, and this one's from Red Gerard. Here we go.
What snowboard video part would you guys describe as the all-time best?
That's a good question, Red.
Yeah, thanks for that question, Red. All-time best video part. I don't think there's a best video part out there. There's so much to take away from every video part that's ever been done. That's an impossible question to answer. One of the video parts that I was most influenced by was Tara Nikitas's, I think, Stand and Deliver. I don't know. It's when she was doing all the backflips.
It's a really good part.
Mm-hmm.
She was just so ahead of her time. And yeah, she was such a punk rock, no rules attitude snowboarder. And I just loved everything that she was doing at the time. And that was one of the most influential parts for me. But best video part ever, I have no idea.
I think Tara Nikita's Stand and Deliver is a great answer. I back that. I think it's a good time to get into hot takes. What do you guys think?
I think it's time.
Okay, hot takes is presented by Oakley Goggles. I always run the Line Miners. They're classic. You see Sage running those, Rene Congus. I run the Mod 5 helmet too, new to the helmet game. Solid helmet. So that being said, we like to start this thing off with the MJ of snowboarding, both male and female. Who you got?
MJ of snowboarding, female. I think that's an easy answer for me. I would say Jamie Anderson. Just since the early 2000s, holding up strong at the top of her game. And I just don't see her slowing down anytime soon. So Jamie Anderson for women. And for men, it's really hard for me. I don't know. There's so many goats. But Gigi Ruff, his creativity in snowboarding shines, and he was a super big inspiration.
That's a great answer. Yeah, he probably doesn't get the shine he deserves on our show for that. I like that answer. We got a new one we started asking. Who's the most underrated?
Underrated female, Dara Reed. There's so many I feel like all of Canada is underrated.
The whole country of snowboarders.
I would second that.
Yeah. They don't always get the shine they deserve.
Yeah. Also, you know who's snowboarding I really appreciate? Elias Allhart. Yeah, he's so good. I love following him.
You got some great projects online. We got another one we like to ask, high backs over the pants or pants over the high backs?
You know what? I don't even pay attention if my pants are over or under.
You don't.
Then that means that they're under the high backs.
Yeah,
you're not paying attention, then they're under.
You'd have to actively put them, put them over.
Okay,
it's a whole process to go over.
I've never done it personally.
You what?
Never put mine over the.
Yeah, I've never been over the high back guy myself.
But people do it.
That's kind of OG when people are rocking
putting them over
the high backs. That's like some old school. Back in the day, Jeremy Jones, and you watch like old.
Is that where you see it?
You can see like there's tons of pros like JP Solberg or like kind of that era. There's guys that used to rock it. If you watch old Mac Dog videos. Now, next question: who's got the best style on a snowboard?
I'm gonna have to say Zoe has the sickest style I've seen in a long time. She's just insane. I love watching her snowboard.
I love it. That's a solid answer. And then we got another one. If you could go heliboarding with 3 people in the world, just fun times. You're going to cruise some pow turns, have a good time with some buds or whoever you want to take, celebrities, doesn't matter. Who you taking? Who are you going with?
Who am I taking? Jeff, obviously. I'd be taking Jeff.
It would actually be amazing if you didn't take Jeff. He's sitting here in the audience.
He's right here.
Do I need to act out of the heli? Who else would I take? Probably Marie France and Spencer, the current crew I'm shredding with all the time.
So you get the dream heli on the Rex.
Dream heli every day for you, huh?
Yeah.
Just a couple weeks ago.
Not every day. Once a year.
Once a year?
Barely. I mean, yeah.
The budgets aren't
once every few.
What they were.
No, they're not.
We had young Dolly on the show. We asked him who he'd take. He said Mike Tyson.
He was putting Mike Tyson in that heli.
Oh, famous people.
Yeah, what about famous? Who you got for famous heli? Stevie Nicks would be a great.
Stevie Nicks.
Put her in the
Santa
heli.
Gold. Who else?
I imagine Santa Gold shreds, huh? With her
Stevie Nicks, Santa Gold, and Mike Tyson would
And
be a
Mike
great
Tyson.
crew. Be a good heli.
Yeah, I don't know who else.
Mike Tyson, boxing gloves on.
Amy Schumer.
Oh, there it is.
Keep
Yeah.
it
Fun.
humor going in
Yeah.
that heli.
Yeah, I don't know how they do on slope. I think Santa Gold could probably hold it down, but I'm not sure how Stevie.
Yeah, I think Santa Gold, and that's it.
Yeah.
Okay, last one we got. Worst trend in snowboarding or in life, for that matter. Take it however you want.
I just never understood the rolling of the pants over the boots.
Mm-hmm.
Isn't the point of the boots to get covered? Or sorry, isn't the point of rolling your pants over your boots to not get the snow? It bugs me so much getting snow in my shoes. So I would have to say that.
Another respectable answer.
Because the people that do that, they're obviously not walking around in deep powder.
No, they're definitely not.
Yeah, because they're going to have a rough day.
So we got to talk about one more thing too. Saltwater retreat.
Yeah.
That's what it's called, right?
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah.
What is it?
Saltwater retreat. It's Jeff and I. We bought this land in Ucluelet, BC, which is very close to Tofino on the west coast. Little fishing town, and we're building a little retreat, like 400 square foot cabins. We started with 2 400 square foot cabins, and we've got a sauna and Japanese ofuro tubs. It's definitely a little bit of a shit show right now, but it's like just finished, and we really need to go over there and landscape it all and get it going. But it's going to be our summer project, and we're hoping to spend our summers out there and operating the saltwater retreat.
Those Japanese tubs are awesome, huh?
They're so awesome. Yeah,
What's the goal of the retreat?
You know what? I don't have a specific goal with it, but I'd love to be open to all the ideas. And people have been reaching. I started a social media account for it, and people have been reaching out to host retreats. And I'd love to do events and host people. And the original idea was just to be a retreat for creatives. I thought it was always going to be a rad idea to edit a movie out while you're surfing and kind of have all the setup for that. So, yeah, eventually it'd be sick to have like a full editing studio out in Yuki so we can
That'd be
work
cool.
and surf. Yeah.
How many cabins do you aspire to build there?
We can build 4 cabins.
4 total.
Plus a house.
Wow, that's sick.
It's crazy. Yeah, we're definitely maxed out with what we've got going on right now, but starting small is the goal, and we've finished the 2 cabins and they're looking pretty sick. I'm so excited to share this with all the friends.
So that actually sounds like a pretty incredible dream life if you really talk about the producing of a movie or an editing there, where you're like, all right, I'm going to go film a snowboard project all year, and then in the summer, I'm going to go to my retreat, and I'm going to surf, and I'm going to sit in saunas and like stretch and do yoga and eat like crunchy granola food and shit, and edit a movie with the creative juices flowing like the salmon of the Capistrano. That sounds pretty incredible.
You explained it better than I could. I feel like it's so stressful that you have to balance it off with the Zen life, and that's where that mix comes in. Yeah.
Maybe you guys could do some ecstatic dance and like
Ecstatic
I've seen the
dance.
thing where people they just like go and they scream. Have you ever seen that? Like people start yelling and stuff.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh,
It's
just
like
to
a
release.
really like next level. Like you
Yeah.
got like yoga, then you got like ecstatic dance, and then you got like people like emotionally yelling. I've seen so that's
Just
like
screaming, going
if you
crazy.
go to the deep wormhole of like
To check that
self-help
out.
type of stuff.
And there's a good wave there too.
There's so many good waves there. No, there's no good waves anywhere, actually.
I think it's all right to
But-
say it up there because that cold water. It's not like everyone's running up from California to
Yeah,
put on that
it's
heavy
def-
wetsuit.
It's definitely gotten warmer in the last few years. Like it was like 30 degrees Celsius on the beach last year. It was super nice. And Jeff and I have gotten into free diving and spearfishing. So we've been like, yeah, it's magical.
See any sharks in that cold water?
There are sharks off the continental shelf. You got to go like 2 hours west of the coastline.
Where the shelf drops, huh?
Yeah,
That's where
and
they
then
hang
it
out.
turns into warm, like turquoise blue water.
Oh, really?
And way warmer. Yeah, it's really cool.
That's cool.
It's where you go fish for tuna.
Cool. We like to always ask our guests about their setups that they're riding, their snowboard. What are you riding? What are the board, the angles, the bindings, the edge tuning, all the whole gamut?
Right. I'm riding the party platter, which is right behind me, and it's a 151, and I usually go 15 degrees to the north, whatever, and then -3 in the back.
To the north, I like that.
Yeah, start using that.
I'm gonna start using.
I go northern.
I don't know what I'm talking about.
We go northern 15 on it.
I tried posy.
Is that a Canadian thing?
I don't know.
Is it like it's like you guys call beanies toques? It's like a toque basically.
I
type of
do
thing.
50
Leanne
degrees
thing.
north.
I don't know what I'm talking about. But I tried posy this winter, and I was like, ooh.
It's not for everyone, huh?
I need to do less posy. I think I did like posy 6 and then 15. It's like got to be way more cranked on the front foot. Yeah, I'm just kind of like figuring that out. You ever done both?
I'm not. I don't.
No.
I don't do that.
Posy on the rails.
I keep it OG.
On the steel.
I keep it OG with very minimal angles. We're trying to stay horizontal on the board. I'm
Yeah.
not trying to look like a freaking bank slalom racer going down some hard boots. So, although I will say,
You ever ridden hard boots?
I haven't. I've read
Yeah.
it's amazing.
It's pretty
But-
fun, actually.
Yeah.
I haven't done it since I was like 15 or 16, but it's fun.
We got to get you. We should maybe make an
never tried.
edit of that, bud.
We should try to get those out again.
Get Bud just ripping turns on some
Yeah.
hard boots. I'd love to watch that. Now, so as far as the board, is it like reverse? Is it a POW floater? Is it a park?
It's a POW floater. It's flat camber and with a rise on the nose. It's super set back, barely any tail. Perfect for cruising in the trees and floating on in deep POW. It's more of like a POW board versus a resort board.
I like the name, the party platter.
Yeah.
It's a good name.
It's so fun and it's just so floaty and you can literally hit anything and you just always land on that board. I don't know. I love this board.
Now, for your tuning, you like to wax. You like to mess with your edges.
No, I don't do anything.
Right.
No waxing, huh?
You
just pull out a fresh board when it needs to be waxed. You're like,
No, I'll rock a board for like 2 seasons.
Yeah, 2 seasons.
Yeah, I think I didn't get like the newest party platter, so I've been rocking this one up until this point. And we just actually started riding some new shapes. AK2, J-Stone's been making lots of cool new shapes.
Now, that one non-gender specific or just
This
whatever?
one's non-gender specific, yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Now, it makes sense if you don't wax. I mean, you're riding big lines. Like, if anything, you want to lose speed. I would be out there maybe
That is
just on the stairs, like scraping my thing, so I don't,
Just go slower and digest your line a lot easier.
Yeah.
Except
Makes
if you're
sense.
caught into an avalanche, you're like, oh, I should have waxed my board.
When you're trying to outrun the avalanche.
Yeah.
True.
So you got some current projects you've been working on and stuff. Do you want to elaborate on any of those?
Yeah. So this last winter, I worked with 2 different projects. One was fabric and with Robin Van Gin spearheading it. And the other was the approach film with this director, Anne Cleary. And they were both different. They're actually, both of them were their own creative projects that involved more than just like snow porn. And it was really cool to be a part of. Robin did a Surf Skate Snow series. It's actually coming out this spring on a platform. So that hasn't released yet. And my particular episode was about community. And then I filmed with Juliette Pelchat. Kind of just brought her out into the backcountry and showed her the ropes, and Robin's crew documented that. And yeah, there's a lot of different topics from environmentalism to activism, community, and highlighting skateboarders, skate like a girl, Paige Elms, surfing big waves. There's so many athletes involved. It's really inspiring to see. So super proud of Robin for just biting off the biggest project in the world. It was so impressive. So there was that. And then the approach film is about highlighting women, adaptive athletes, and Black athletes and in skiing and snowboarding. So that was a really fun project to be a part of. Although with COVID, it was just hard because I didn't actually get to hang out with the crew. But seeing the final project, it's on the North Face YouTube channel.
Yeah, that's awesome. Now I have a question in regards to that stuff too, because there's, I was doing some deep dives. There's so much like content on the North Face channel of all these little content pieces and projects, like short film style projects. And what are your thoughts on working on like the short film more like pieces versus like the 2-year Runway Films big production movies?
I think it's really fun to do it all. I think the short pieces are quick hits and center, like the short pieces can be about anything. Like it doesn't necessarily need to be a banging snow porn video, but it can highlight something about somebody's life that is pretty inspiring. So I'm pretty down to be a part of those short pieces. And then obviously like the 2-year projects are so fulfilling. You work so hard to grind to get like the best shots you can to be part of a film, and those are just, I think those are a staple in our sport. We have to have those. Well said. Yeah, that's you need those big marquee films to showcase snowboarding and the peak of riding and the big tricks, but you need the personality storytelling as well. I love it all as well. So. Yeah. I think snowboard media is in a good spot right now. I think there's a lot of different, we're not just seeing just snowboard porn. Like I watch like as many videos as I can in the fall to get pumped on snowboarding, but then I love watching the storytelling vibes too. Like Marie France and Leah Evans, skier, they did this Patagonia project. And they did this traverse, and it was nothing about skiing or snowboarding. It was just about them suffering the whole time.
The traverse?
Yeah, it was the Bugaboos to Rogers Traverse, but it was just filmed so well. It basically just showcased like the relationship between them struggling, and it was such a good film, and I appreciated it a lot. And it's not something that I would think about putting together, but it was so well done and inspirational in its own way. So I think. Yeah, it's important.
Is that just a gnarly traverse or what?
Oh yeah, it's like
check that out.
It's I forget what the name.
It's a creative project right there.
It was
a movie on a traverse.
And Marie loves suffering. She's
really?
just like, I'm going on this trip. And
I can't wait to suffer.
But she truly suffered.
Really?
And then when she got back, because she was living with me last winter, I was like, how was the traverse? Did you ride lines? Like, what did you guys do? And she's like, oh, we had no time to even look at lines. Like we were just racing the weather because it's dangerous. You're doing that. You only have a certain amount of food. You're like going 200 kilometers from one end to the other end. And they ended up coming out in the middle of the night. And she was like, and I will never recommend a traverse with skiers. Because
they're way better at it, right?
They're just so efficient.
Yeah.
So much faster.
Yeah.
And she's like, I would do that with snowboarders, but I think it was tough.
Trying to keep up with the skier.
Yeah. Well, and I got sandbagged going out with Christina Lusty and Brett Harrington last year. They're like 2 badass mountaineer skiers for North Face, and they're just so much faster. Yeah.
Amazing. It's funny how some people just like to suffer, huh? Like some people go snow camping and just love it, and other people go and they're just like, I will never do that again.
Yeah. I know.
Just shivering the entire night.
Just freezing and never dry. And
if you have the right gear, it's like, it's fine. It can be cushy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can't say I've had similar experiences sleeping in the mountains. I'm just like, yep, never doing that again.
Yep.
Especially here in Utah, I've snow camped like where I'm like 30 minutes from my bed.
You're like, why am I even doing this? Why am I sleeping here?
Jeff and I did a camping trip up Whistler at the top of the mountain last year, or 2 years ago, and I had the Inferno sleeping bag, the North Face, 800 fill. I woke up in the morning, I'm like, oh, that was actually not that bad. And then he's just like,
you could get him one of those too.
I'm like,
he's got the Walmart special.
He's completely blue.
I was like, why didn't you wake me up? And I put him in my sleeping bag right away. I'm like, you need a warm up. You're
He's like, this was $20.99 at Canadian Tire. Wow.
Yeah. We did it again this year.
And no wonder why you like snow camping. You ride for North Face.
Yeah, very lucky.
All that equipment.
Yeah, it's awesome.
Now, what do you think about Timmy Hortons, just before we wrap this thing up?
Oh, I meant to bring some Tim Biebs for you, and I forgot.
We would have hammered those. No?
That would have been a nice addition to the set.
I will say this, though. I love Timmy
Timbits
Hose.
box.
I've been on trips with Eastone.
Not a big fan.
He's not.
He's
like, again? We're going again?
It's just that, I don't know.
Well, maybe not for the coffee, but the donuts.
Coffee is horrible.
Yeah.
Let's be honest.
We're going to lose our Canadian viewership if you keep talking like this.
But I have learned you don't go to Timmy Hose and get a latte. You just got to get the drip coffee. Enjoy the donuts.
Buds thinks he's in Beverly Hills or some shit.
You don't get a sandwich because it's going to taste like cardboard.
Yeah.
You just got to go Timbits and a drip coffee, and then you're golden.
Yeah, you don't really want to order the Timbits, but you order them anyways. You're like, oh, I'll have one. And then it's like 10 gone.
Gotta get the Timbits.
Or somebody orders the 50-pack.
Oh, yeah. That's if somebody gets a banger in the streets.
Yeah.
You get the 50-pack. Yeah. And then you're just like super carb-loaded and uncomfortable and like borderline diabetes for the rest of the trip. It's really good.
There's just Timbits rolling around the van frozen for the next 10 days.
Did you guys see the commercial with Justin Bieber?
No, I haven't seen it.
Oh, it was a thing. He had his own line of Timbits.
Oh, really?
It was called the Tim Biebs.
Oh, he had the Tim Biebs?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, and there was merch. I got a toque.
He had a pro model toque with the donuts. That's dope.
He did, and it was at our Dirty Secret Santa, and I stole it off Jackie. And she's like, "No."
Little sidebar fun fact: Buds was backstage at Bieber last week.
Yeah, it's pretty dope. I'm a believer.
I'm
a believer.
Backstage for him singing? Or
yeah, it was his concert.
No way.
Yeah, it was pretty sick.
Cool.
Good times.
Did you meet Haley?
No. It's the day actually she had her heart issue last week. She had a stroke.
What?
Yeah, last week. The day of that concert. Yeah. She's okay though.
Oh geez.
For all the Believer fans out there, she is okay.
Okay, glad
sending love to her family.
She is okay. He actually got off stage right to the PJ out of Salt Lake that night.
Oh,
and apparently that's how he rolls actually every concert.
Just out.
Jumps in the jet. Right after he finishes set, he's just escorted to the car right to the airport on his own jet.
Whoa, getting it done.
That's why he has to stay on tour all the time because he got to feed that jet all that money. So you got to stay on tour. It's just a vicious cycle.
Well,
it's true. And Tim Hortons.
Oh, what's
I
that?
bet Tim Hortons.
Oh, Tim Hortons. Yeah.
Timmy Hose pays nice for a donut.
Nice.
Donut sponsorship.
Yeah.
Hey, we can do advertising.
The bomb hole.
Reach out to us.
The bomb donut hole.
Yeah, absolutely.
We could do a Timmy Hose line.
I would love to advertise for them.
Pick out our own donut flavor.
Yeah, you'd have to start liking their products.
I love Timmy Hose, man. Get us up, Timmy.
All right. Well, Leanne, it's been a hell of a podcast. I think we're pretty good to wrap this thing up. Before we do that, do you want to throw out any thank yous?
Yeah, lots of thank yous. So grateful for all the support I've had over the years. Thanks to North Face, Dragon, Black Diamond, Hyundai, K2, and Vans. Very grateful to the supporters and all the friends and everybody that's helped me along the way, and my girls crew, the Full Moon crew, and Jeff, and you guys.
Well, thank you so much for coming on the show, Leanne. It's been a hell of a chat with you. I hope you guys have a great, rest of your pregnancy and everything goes great, and your baby comes out and is just doing back sevens off of natty win lips before we know it.
Sponsored in 6 months. 6-month-old sponsorships.
He's going to get in those little North Face baby kits for sure.
Oh, yeah. Those are swag.
Yeah, there's some nice gear. I bet North Face makes some dope little baby stuff.
It's the cutest.
He's going to be like climbing a cliff, free climbing. Is that what they call it?
Yeah. All kinds of carabiners.
Little baby with no ropes, just climbing.
Well, also want to say thank you so much to everybody for listening, watching. Again, thanks for coming on the show, Leanne. It's been a pleasure. Everybody that sponsors the show, thank you. All of our Patreon members, we couldn't do this without you guys.
Yeah, thank you.
And we will see you next week. Over and out from the bomb hole.
Thank you, guys.